Can we lead with women's stories? We interview women from all over the world to show how they got to where they are today. Because it's easier to be what you can see. And I'm really excited to be talking to Jasmine Navarro today. Jasmine, welcome to She Can. You're an award-winning certified family and educational well-being expert. You're the founder of Nava, a coaching company focused on helping teenagers and parents learn key tools and techniques to get through that phase for families in this day and age. So all the pressures that we're facing as a global society. You're also a author of the Creative Confidence Program, which you roll out all over the world, and you're a speaker and trainer, and you're based in Dubai. So tell us a bit more about yourself and in your own words.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, so basically, it all starts really when I was a teen. I'll keep this short as possible, but when I was a teenager, I went through my own trauma. My stepdad passed away, and I found out in the newspaper. So I was in complete shock for about 8 years. I was traumatized, with all of these feelings, emotions, and I did not know what to do. And obviously, my family, nobody knew what to do with me or how to support me in the best way. So I think we didn't really talk about anything, which led me to just want to leave that situation because I didn't know what was happening with all of these feelings. I didn't know what to do. I was grieving. I ended up blaming myself. I mean, there was just so many emotions, and I don't think I was a very confident teenager anyway. So I was a bit insecure. So maybe that's why I blame myself. I don't know. But so I just left the situation, and I ended up teaching in like 11 countries actually, and I was teaching primary, secondary and adults. And I think that's how I dealt with I didn't really deal with my grief, I don't think, not in a really healthy way. So obviously I was working with teenagers, I was supporting parents anyway in my job as a teacher, which I absolutely love doing. And and I would notice, I think because maybe of what I had gone through, I would notice when maybe a child or teenager wasn't feeling 100% in the classroom, and I wanted to help them because I probably felt I had that connection. But when you're a teacher, there's never any time anyway. You just have to do what you need to do, and that's it. So fast forward like 20 years, I came to Dubai, and I don't know why, if it was the timing, if it was the place, but I look back on my life and I was just like, wow, it was 17 years. I was like, 17 years, 11 countries. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm exhausted. So I thought, what can I do? And I kept meeting coactive coaches. That's the modality that I studied. So I decided to train in coactive to find out what I wanted to do with my life. But of course, during the whole process, which was really difficult because you had to work on yourself, which was the first time I ever did that emotionally in front of 20 people. And that's when I realized that I had never really learned how to feel like uncomfortable emotions. That was such a huge realization for me. I learned so many things. It was so difficult, but I knew I had to keep going. Anyway, at the end of it, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to work with others and help them realize that they don't need to, leave the situation every time, like go to another country. Because, every country I went to, I was probably having the same experience in each country because I was the same person. I had to work on myself. And I don't regret anything I did because I learned so much from that experience. But that's when I realized how important it was to work on yourself. It's not working, changing the outside, it's changing the inside. And it was so transformative for me. So then I decided, so I was working with adults, and I still do work for adults. But then further down the line, I was like, I need to work with teenagers because I was thinking about when I was a teen. So then I started creating workshops, delivering them to schools, universities, teaching what I'd learned in the coaching training, and in a fun way as well. And then I had a podcast where I would invite 18 to 24-year-olds on, and they would share their story because I really believed about, giving the youth a voice. Probably because maybe I felt like I didn't have my voice when I was young, through nobody's fault. It was just what happened. So yeah, that's how it started, and that's what I do now. I work with families because I really do believe that well-being, it all starts at home.
Yeah. Jasmine, thank you for that. Tell us a little bit more how you work now. So you work one-on-one, you work in groups, you have this program. Tell us a little bit more of how that works with Nava now.
Yeah, so I have my program, Creative Confidence, because I had all of these workshops and I thought I'm going to make a program. So I work with teenagers in a group and I deliver my program. Also, I deliver my program one-on-one. And also I support parents in groups and one-on-one. Yeah.
Jasmine, and let's talk a little bit about the pressures teenagers face in this day and age, which is why you do excellent work.
Yeah.
The pressures of social media, of the pressure to achieve this, since they're little, they have these packed calendars. And what do you feel? What are the key tools and techniques that you try and teach our young
Yeah.
people to
Yeah.
manage in this sort of environment where we always expect so much?
I think the most important thing working with teenagers, parents, is, teaching obviously self-awareness, because, emotional awareness as well, because like you were saying, teenagers, parents, or everybody, we're under so much pressure today. There's not enough, we always think there's not enough time, people are stressed out, burnout is on the rise, all of these things, and social media probably doesn't help. But I think, so we're feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, all of these feelings. And I think the biggest problem is we don't know how to react or respond to these feelings, because a lot of the time, maybe if we're feeling anxious, I work with teenagers, they're feeling anxious, but then they feel anxious about feeling anxious, or they hate their anxiety, or they're angry because of their anxiety. So they're really not responding in a healthy way. And that's like something that's so important. The fundamental important part is how you respond to your emotions. And so, because of course, if you respond with if you respond in an anxious way to anxiety, you're going to make it 1,000 times worse. So it's how we respond, and we need to learn how to acknowledge our emotions, name them, identify them, accept them, describe them, and process them. That there's set steps that we need to do, but we're not taught this in school. And that's one of the main things I learned in coaching, how to identify my feelings and feel them, because we need to feel them. So that's what I teach them, how because I believe emotional awareness leads to emotional well-being, which leads to core confidence, as opposed not just looking confident.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. And I teach them, everybody, there's no such thing as a positive or negative emotion. Like, every emotion is valid. If we're feeling anxious, our body's trying to tell us something, we need to seek the message and then let it go. So when I teach these tools and techniques, it's just unbelievable. Our body is so intelligent, and it gives us messages, and we just need to know how to use it. So that's one of the main tools that I teach.
Jasmine, so give us some top tips now. It's difficult to be uncomfortable, and we're not taught it, and it's so difficult to sit with your emotions. And I've really learned it only in my 40s, I think. So I feel, and I still try and push them away when I can. So I feel, what are your top tips for teenagers to be more peaceful with whatever emotion might come? And how can they learn and sit with it?
Well, I think there's different ways, and everybody has their own way. But, I think obviously journaling is definitely a really good tool to use, journaling, because maybe you don't want to share your feelings. That's okay. I'm not saying, you need to share everything with everybody, because I don't think that's good either. Obviously, you've got to find the right people and be safe and all of that. But I think journaling is a good start. Because we've got to take things slowly. It is really one step at a time. And it's not like, okay, today you're feeling like this and tomorrow everything's going to be okay if you do this X, Y, and Z. No, it's really tiny habits consistently.
Yeah.
So maybe the first thing is 5 minutes journaling every day. Maybe the next step would be, okay, you look into the mirror. What are you saying to yourself when you look into the mirror? Maybe you're saying something really negative. That's okay. Don't be angry with how you're feeling or thinking. Just accept it. And it might take a few times of looking in the mirror. And then I do a lot like with teenagers, you know, and then they write affirmations like, okay, so you're saying this, what would you like to say to yourself? Put a post-it note on the mirror so you see it every day. You know, I am cool. I am whatever you want to say. I'm not going to tell you what to say. It's your words. So this just builds the awareness. First of all, it's building the awareness. What do you say? Then what would you like to say? But it always starts with awareness, like with journaling. So it's awareness first and acceptance. That's what I teach. And just those tiny things you have, you know, you see the shift. And when you start, obviously, when you're talking negatively to yourself, but when that shifts, everything changes, because how you are with yourself is how the world is with you anyway. And then you needed to take that action because you're feeling better about yourself, and then you take the positive action that helps your life in a positive way. So it has a spiral effect, you know. So yeah, I would say those things, because I wouldn't want to give so many tips, because then you won't do any of them.
Yeah, I agree. Then that's another overwhelm.
Yeah, it's another overwhelm. Exactly. So one thing.
I mean, I'm also absolutely capable of saying something like that. But you know, when people say, I just want my child to be happy, it's the tall order. It's such a tall order. We have to stop saying that, because that's complicated and complex and really not so easy. And so I feel that we need to stop making these sort of blanket statements of, you know, what we expect our children to be feeling, or where we, you know, oh, we just want you to be happy. Well,
no,
actually, lots of little steps make that happy picture. And so you got to learn those steps and find them for yourself. And everybody's steps are different.
Yes.
Jasmine, I'm wondering, what do you feel is sort of what are the challenges you feel that you sort of face with your purpose?
Like with the teenagers and parents?
Well, with your job, what do you feel are the sort of challenges that you come across?
Like for me, or what they say? For me. Challenges for me. Well, I mean, because you know, I work a lot like online. I work a lot online. So that can be quite lonely sometimes. I think loneliness is quite a big thing.
Yeah.
I find that with teenagers, with parents, with me. I think a lot of us now are feeling more lonely and less connected. And I don't really know why. Sometimes I think it's because of social media.
Yeah.
It's just,
we have less real connections potentially.
Probably, yes.
Jasmine, and the other question is what you were saying earlier. What do you feel are the sort of biggest challenges that you feel teenagers face that you work with?
Well, definitely loneliness, lack of friends. Well, it's loneliness again, bullying, but it's all connected to feeling lonely, isn't it? The loneliness, lack of friends, anxiety, like you were saying earlier, stress, pressure to do well at school, all of those things. Yeah, it's so common, so common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do you feel, I mean, every one of us has qualities that serve us every day. And I think that's always a really nice indicator for girls, you know, when they think, what should I be doing with my life? There is an enormous amount of girls between the ages of 13 and 18 whose confidence drops, their anxiety level goes up, their stress level go up by, 240%. This is really a big data. And I always think many of them don't know exactly where they should be heading, what they should be studying, etc. And they can identify with qualities though. So what do you feel are your qualities that really serve you in doing what you do?
My qualities.
Yeah.
I think my qualities. Oh, that's a good question. My quality, I feel like I can connect. I connect with teenagers really well. I connect. I think I have that connection, and I feel like when I'm working with teenagers, they feel safe with me. Even adults, when I do workshops one-to-one, they really do feel safe with me, and I think that's a quality. They trust me. Yeah, and I think I'm very intuitive as well. So I think that comes, I use that a lot in my work as well. So yeah, I would say those things.
Jasmine, and what do you have any plans, goals? What's happening for you in the next years?
That's a really good question. Of course, one day I would like to have my own, well-being clinic for teenagers. I would love to do that. In the meantime, I just want to really, teach as many teenagers as I can these tools and techniques, because you see so many teenagers suffering, or it gets really serious. Maybe they just started off with a bit of anxiety, but they didn't talk to anybody. They started blaming themselves. They isolated themselves. They got depressed, spiraled. But if they'd have just had somebody to talk to and learn how to process those emotions, it would have been okay. Not in every situation. So I just want to teach children and teenagers that it's okay to feel all of these emotions. Of course, not if it's ruining your life, but I mean, at the beginning, just teach them preventative tools so they can be happy, not all the time. Suffering. I think so many people are suffering, and it doesn't always need to be like that.
In silence, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the more I do that, the more it helps me. Anyway.
Yeah, but
So
that's so lovely that we grow from the things that we do, and we chose them, so we grow.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jasmine, so what are you hoping to convey through your story? What do you think is important about your story?
That's a good question. What's important about my story? That I think you can overcome things. People can overcome things. You can get through things like the pain and everything that we go through. And I know I'm not the only one, but I think you can get through it. You can get through it.
And you can
Yeah.
make your life's purpose, which is what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And probably the more, unfortunately or fortunately, the more pain you go through, probably you can help more people because you can really feel how they're feeling.
I'm so grateful, Jasmine, that you
Yeah.
came on She Can to tell your story. I love all your advice and guidance and all your insight. And so, any listener who experiences any of those mental health issues or challenges, or just isn't feeling quite right, then please get in touch with Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.